Thank you, Chairman Ricketts, for assembling the subcommittee today. And thank you, witnesses, for being here to talk about the Endangered Species Act. Being from Wyoming, I know how helpless people can feel when Washington makes decisions to list a species as endangered or threatened, and then that species never comes off the list. In my office, we call those zombie listings because even if recovery goals are met, they remain on the list. A perfect example is the grizzly bear. You know, the original goals when grizzly bears were listed back in 1975 was a target of 500 bears. And today we have over 1,100 grizzly bears. The frustration of Wyoming ranchers and individuals is heightened. Every year, people are killed by grizzly bears in my state, every year, because they don't fear humans. So my office gets videos of grizzlies chasing ranchers while they're working their cattle. I have a bill, it's S-315, the Grizzly Bear State Management Act, to ensure that state expertise drives species management moving forward. And I still think for grizzly bears that that's the appropriate approach. Then I want to pitch another bill that I have, and it's so simple, it just changes the name of the Endangered Species Act to the Endangered Species Recovery Act. Because our focus should be on recovery, not on listing, on recovery. And another issue that it's always kind of vexed me over the years with regard to the ESA is that certain science was viewed as paramount, and science that was generated at the state level was tended to be ignored. So that's where I want to take my first questions. And I want to pose these to Mr. Riley and Mr. Yablonsky. Welcome, gentlemen. Do you believe all the best available science should be included in ESA listings and delisting decisions? And do you think that's currently being done?
So I'll start off. And I think in general, there's an appreciation to take into consideration what science is there. But I'm going to give a very specific example and my understanding of this issue in Nebraska. There's a power district near Columbus, Nebraska, that recently had to go through a biological opinion and had an order issued in the last decade or so. And there was science that the applicant had put together that clearly showed there was a concern about river temperatures in the Platte River. Clearly showed that there was no statistically different temperature downstream, so that there wouldn't be a challenge to that. Now, the service, in the end, disregarded that data, that local science that was conducted, and decided that there should be a temperature differential. And what this did was give the Fish and Wildlife Service, and this is my opinion as a former director of the state water management program, gave them their own water right to decide who and what got water. Now, that was a mistake. The first time that this rule was then implemented because temperatures downstream were too high, this owner of the of the system was not able to divert water. Water went downstream. That was supposed to make everything better. And in reality, it killed many, many fish because the temperature changed the wrong way. So the study was already done by the applicant to show that that would be the case, but it was disregarded in the final biological opinion and the rule that was set up. Was the final biological opinion written by employees of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service? That's my understanding, yes. Thank you. Mr. Yablonsky, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, and to the credit of the agency, sometimes they get the science completely right. I think in the case of the grizzly bear, the science is spot on. And prior to delistings of the grizzly bear, of the Yellowstone grizzly in particular, those have really been sort of bipartisan, science-based delisting. You've had both administrations from both sides of the aisle moving that forward. But what happens is there's a distinction between biological recovery and political recovery. And biological recovery is when the science says it should come off the list, which is in the case of the grizzly bear today. Political recovery is when special interest groups deem it acceptable to come off the list, and we haven't gotten there yet. And oftentimes, the agency will move forward with the states with a science-based decision, but then you have a judge replacing his or her own opinions with the actual science that the agencies concur on.
Yeah, great point. I wonder if it would be advisable to, once the science is set on a recovery goal, that as soon as that recovery goal is hit and then maintained for a period of a few years, that a species would automatically either drop from endangered to threatened or drop off the list entirely just as a ministerial function. Mr. Lee, what do you think of that idea?
So I think the rulemaking process that's currently in place is still necessary, in particular to give states and the public an opportunity to comment. Because a lot of times the service gets the analysis right, and sometimes, it needs additional data from states and from others, right? So the rulemaking process is actually what allows members of the public to provide additional information that the service may not have. So I think it's really important to retain that rulemaking process.
Well, Mr. Chairman, would you indulge me?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So what are the highest priority changes that could be made to improve the credibility of the Act? And I pose that to anyone who wishes to take it on. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Senator. I go back to something that actually Jake and Perk and defenders probably agree on, which is, and you had mentioned this in your comments, can we structure sort of metrics where as the states and landowners meet those metrics, flexibility in management slides more and more in their direction so that eventually, as all the metrics are met, because recovery is the goal of the Act. Like it's not funding, it's not staffing, it's not ideology, it's recovery. Like that's what we should always look at. And administrations come and administrations go, and budgets go up and budgets go down. But that recovery number has been stuck at 3% for an awful long time.
Yeah.
So we have to change the incentives here. We have to do something different. We can't be doing the same thing we've been doing for 53 years. And I think taking the 4D rule that would manage species and having clear goals for states to meet, and as those states meet those goals, more management shifts to them. And at the end of the day, to your point, it would essentially be delisted because you would get there. You would hit all the check marks and be there over a period of time.
Thank you. Mr. Riley, any comment on this?
So, Senator Lummis, I appreciate your comment on maybe changing the Act's name. One of the successes for the Platte River Recovery and Implementation Program is that it's that. It's not a restoration program. We're not trying to restore. We are trying to recover, and we've seen great work in that direction through the collaboration and interest of stakeholders and the federal government and other folks involved, including NGOs. So I think focusing on that is really important. And when you get to that level and achieve it, your comments on checkmark, let's make it a maintenance program. This is exactly where PRIP is very close, the Platte River Recovery and Implementation Program, to being a maintenance program. And for your state, who participates in it,
Yeah.
I think some of your stakeholders would agree that we're very close, and we need to know that the goal line's not going to change on the program, that once we achieve that, we're there and we can maintain it and do the work that it takes to maintain the program, but not change it.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank our witnesses for bringing your expertise to bear today. Thank you.